Another quality start from Bryan Woo where he goes 6 innings, but it's not enough today for the Mariners as the bats struggle against Mets rookie right-hander Noel McLean, who makes his major league debut and pitches a fine ball game today against the Mariners as they fall 3-1 to the Mets in the second game of this 3-game series. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. As I said, the Mariners dropped this one 3-1 to the Mets. They are 68-56 on the season. They are a game and a half back in the American League West. They are tied with the Red Sox for the first wild card, and they are 4 games up on a playoff spot overall. Before I go any further, the big three: like the video, comment your thoughts on the team and the game down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new or lurking to the channel. Every time I do these, I always try to start out big picture, and then we bring it back down into the game itself. So we always kind of start out, with the broad sense of how we're feeling about this team. And 38 games left, right? So we are really into the nitty gritty here. Big picture is this is going to be a tough road trip. 9 games, East Coast, coming off the high of a huge homestand. This was going to be a road trip that was going to test this team. No, Baltimore's not great, but we know they have some talent, and you face Trevor Rogers in that second game. The Mets, despite struggling, are clearly a talented baseball team. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. You got those guys in your lineup. You're not bad, right? They're scuffling, but they're very likely going to be in the playoffs. And then the Phillies, who could very well be the favorites in the National League. So this was not the road trip that you're going to come in and just go 8-1, 7-2 and clean house. This is a road trip where you come in, you hope for 5. Listen, you always hope for the best. 5-4. You never want to set expectations of a losing road trip. That's just, you don't want to have that mentality. But I will say, if the Mariners can go 2-2 the rest of this way, they're 2-3 so far, 4-5. I'd probably take that for this road trip. Hope they go 4-0. It would be amazing. But if you can get out of this 4-5, you should be okay. Come home for the A's, a team you should be able to beat. San Diego, even though they're good, it's a team you've beaten this year. Anytime you can get back home, you feel more comfortable there. You set yourself up well. What you don't want on these road trips is to bottom out on these. Go 1-8, 0-9, 2-7, where you put yourself behind the 8 ball. And you're sitting there, now you're 2 games out of a playoff spot somehow because you just cratered on this road trip. It has been very frustrating so far. Losing a series in Baltimore is frustrating. This game today was frustrating. It was frustrating seeing the Mariners score 11 runs last night. Looks like the offense is back. Then they score 1 run today. Frustration has every right to be existing if that's the feeling that you have right now. You have every right to have that. But the Mariners are 2-3 on this road trip. It's not terrible. It just hasn't been them staying in that stride of being locked in. I think we all figured there'd kind of be one more stretch of baseball where this team looked a little bit off. What we hope for is, like I said, you can go back and watch some past years. I've been doing this for 2 years. You go back to August, of 23 or September 23, same thing with last year. Although last year, this time, I think Houston had passed us after the 10-game lead. So already felt kind of down. I think this is around the time Scott was let go last year. But it can't spiral. And I know I say this in every video. That's what your hope. 2-3 stretches are going to happen, right? You're going to lose 3 out of 5 games. There's nothing crazy about that. It just can't turn into where now they lose the rest of this road trip, 2-7. Now you got a problem. Now you're probably 3-4 back of Houston. You're probably still ahead in a playoff spot, but might be by 2 games. You're probably in that third wild card potentially. That's when these road trips become major problems for you. Hanging around 500 or a little bit under for a small stretch isn't the end of the world. You just have to make sure it doesn't dip down where it becomes a problem for this team. Now, you can go back and watch my videos in 23 and 24 around this time. And listen, maybe I'm not the person to listen to because I said a lot of times that, hey, it's fine. It's just a little rough patch. They'll get through it. It just never really got through it. So it's definitely possible, right? We've seen it with this team before. And all of a sudden 2-3 becomes 6-9. Becomes 8-12, and it's like, okay, guys, now you're tied for a playoff spot. You got to kick into gear. They win a series, but then it just spirals back down. So it is certainly possible. I'm not here to tell you that, everything's guaranteed, but right now it probably shouldn't be any type of panic button or anything like that. It's just been a little bit of a tough road trip, and they've played a lot of close games on this road trip. Truthfully, all 5 games could have gone different directions. Mariners could have lost that first game to Baltimore, won the next 2. Could have lost last night and won tonight and be 3-2 on the road trip. right? Like all five have kind of been, toss-up-y games, and they've just been on the short end of the stick in three of them. Talked about it yesterday a little bit. I think I did. Kind of hate playing teams like the Mets when they're ice cold. Again, if the Rockies, fine, they're terrible. It doesn't matter if they're, ice cold because they're just bad. The Mets are not a terrible baseball team. They're 2-14 in their last 16, but they're clearly, that's on pace for like 30 wins in a season, and probably even less, maybe. The Mets are not that bad. You look at the talent on their roster, all you have to do is just look at the lineup and know they're better than that. And those teams, they just eventually they get right. Not an excuse for the Mariners, right? You play who's on your schedule, and you got to find wins. But those teams just do eventually find a way to get a W. They're not going to go down forever. And that's why with this series, listen, you win tomorrow, you win the series. And that's fine. That should have been the goal here. I didn't think the Mariners would come in and sweep the Mets. You get out of this tomorrow with a huge series win, and I think it, balanced out. You go to Philly, you hope you win that one. You have a winning road trip here. So I don't think there's much to necessarily get too up in arms about. Now, if we want to dive into the game a little bit further, there were things during this game that were frustrating. In the top of I want to say it was the top of the fourth. The Mariners had the bases. It was top of the third. Mariners get the bases loaded, one out. Julio hits the ground ball. Great play by McClain, but a ground ball that might have been a double play ball either way. You can't get that run home. That's super frustrating. Just to have the offense struggle again after scoring 11 yesterday. Now, McClain was good. I think he deserves a tip at the cap. But you'd like to see this offense against a pitcher making their major league debut, no matter how good of a prospect they are. And McClain's a good one, top 40 prospect in all baseball. But you'd still like to see this offense, which is talented enough, make them pay a little bit, right? A little welcome to the big leagues. Mariners just didn't do that, right? And that is frustrating. Not expecting 7 runs off McClain in 3 innings. But bases loaded there, one out. You'd love to see Julio gap one. And like you said, hey, you're going to pay the price for those couple walks, there, rookie. They had some opportunities in this game. They got some leadoff guys on. They had some okay at bats. They worked some walks. I did think, not the reason they lost, but top of the third, the umpire had a terrible call. McClain had walked JP and Ford. Harry Ford, I'm getting ready. JP Crawford and Cole Young to start off the third inning. And Randy was ahead 2-0, and a pitch that was clearly outside. The ump gave McClain the call. Very frustrating. One, it was a ball, and it should have been a ball. And I think 3-0 there, Randy probably walks, and I think the Mariners get a run or two home that inning. But it's also just frustrating. Like, really, the kid's not throwing strikes, and you're going to reward him like a mercy pitch there. That just drives me nuts. Again, Mariners got to take advantage. Like, it's going to happen. I'm sure there was a pitch Bryan Woo got at some point. There was another pitch, I think, in the next at-bat to Cal that McClain threw that touched the zone. It was called a ball. But it's just frustrating when you see it, like, so obvious. And 2-1 count versus 3-0 is just so different. I mean, think of it like a series, right? If you're in a best of 7, down 3-0, you're done. But 2-1, it's like, okay, series back on. We win tomorrow, we're even here. It's kind of the same thing to that bat, the difference in that. So that's very, very frustrating. But again, just kind of lifeless. Good to see Gino get the home run in the 9th inning. Hopefully that gets him going. Want to see the power coming back. Had the double yesterday, home run today. So a couple extra base hits in his last 2 games is good to see. But other than that, yeah, just kind of a bit of a lifeless performance. Bryan Woo was outstanding again. I don't think he had his best stuff, but a testament to how good he is to get through 6 innings there. Like Dan leaving him in there, letting him get out of that 6th inning there. He got in a little bit of a jam, bases loaded, all happened with 2 outs. Looked like an opportunity to go to the bullpen. I thought Dan was going to. Sticks with Bryan Woo at 99 pitches, and Woo rewards him with getting out of that inning. And now Bryan Woo, in every single start this year, has gone 6 innings. Just incredible. Unfortunately, not rewarded with a W. At least we're used to that, right? I mean, this year's been a lot of big offense, and the pitching hasn't been as dialed in. But we're certainly used to a quality start from a starter and not being rewarded with a win. So at least that's a feeling that as Mariner fans we can be extremely familiar with here. And then the Mets add on a couple runs, right? I mean, I don't think that anything was really hit hard off Caleb Ferguson. Brett Beatty and Francisco Lindor kind of blooped a couple balls in there. Lindor's been the guy this series. You guys know what I'm talking about. Every series, there's just someone on the opposing team that the Mariners can't get out. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, Lindor's a fantastic player, obviously, but this series, it's been Lindor. They just can't get him out here. And then the Mets add on a couple there in the 7th inning. So I don't think Ferguson was necessarily bad. Even the Soto fly ball, while hit far, was a pop up there. So it happens. It's just one of those games. I mean, to be honest, if I was an outside observer, not a fan of the Mariners, I'd probably, like, let's say I was I don't know, I can't say it, White Sox fan, and you guys were Mariners fans, said, "Hey, Jay from White Sox podcast, what do you think of this game?" I'd say I think the Mets were just due to win a baseball game. I know people don't want to hear that. I know people are probably, and I listen, like I said, 2 years ago, I was telling the guy, don't worry about it. They're going to turn around, and they didn't. So maybe I'm not being up in arms enough. And, who knows? Maybe that's the case. But I'm not super worried about the team. I think it's just a little bit of a tough spell. I think the Mets are a good team that was due to win a baseball game. And they got the stuff that dropped in today that you didn't get. They had a good pitching performance from a very good prospect that came up and gave them a quality start. They used Edwin Diaz for 2 innings today. They were desperate for a win. So you had to face arguably the best relief pitcher in baseball for 6 outs. Good news is maybe Diaz is down tomorrow. Gregory Soto, one of their bullpen additions, it's actually been decent for them this year. Helsley and I think Rogers have struggled a little bit. At least I know Helsley has. Soto goes an inning and 2/3. I mean, they played this game to win it. I don't mean that the teams don't always do that, but the Mets were doing everything they could in this game. It'd be the Mariners going an inning and 2/3 with Brash and then 2 innings with Munoz just to get a W. So you may actually benefit a little bit from that tomorrow because there's a chance Soto and Diaz could be down tomorrow, potentially. Diaz for sure. Soto, they might be able to squeeze an out or two out of. I mean, maybe again, the Mets going to be desperate again tomorrow, but I would think Edwin Diaz is down. So it's just a tough road to climb when you're going against that. Again, not an excuse. Mariners got to win baseball games, right? 38 left. You're now Astros win today, so you lose a game despite you don't get, like I said, a bonus point because, well, the Mets really tried hard to win. So here's a half a win for the Mariners. I'm just pointing out that I think a lot was kind of stacked against. Mariners did go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Again, that's frustrating. Like I said, they have opportunities. So there is, like, let me be clear, there's frustrations within the game. I'm not saying to just throw it out and go, oh, well, picking daisies in the yard there. But, there were legitimate frustrations. So Julio double play. Yes, McClain made a great behind the back play. If that gets through, past him? Do I think they get a run? Yeah, I don't think the Mets would be able to turn 2 on that against Julio. So I think they probably at least get 1 run. But still, it's Julio hitting a ground ball in a spot when you need to elevate a ball, right? What were some other opportunities? Even there, that inning. Oh, no, that was the same inning with JP and Cole Young leading off. There's an inning where Dom Canzone had a leadoff hit. In fact, let's go through it a little bit. I think they did have a few innings where they had leadoff guys on. Didn't do it in the first or the second. The third inning we talked about, obviously. I also thought maybe JP could have scored on Cal's base hit. I don't mind holding him there. Julio's been hot, bases loaded, 1 out. And Soto's got a good arm, but just kind of looking at it live, Soto's throw kind of was airmailed a little bit. I do wonder if that maybe JP could have scored. Of course, I'm sure Christopher Negron, you could go talk him and say, yeah, if I knew Julio was going to ground to a double play, would have sent him. So third, they had the lead off, first 2 guys on. Maybe not as much as I thought. Fifth, Dom led off. And then there was a passed ball that Dom got to second. That was one I want to talk about. That was a really bad at-bat by J.P. Crawford. He popped up there to Lindor, who, of course, makes an over-the-basket catch because why wouldn't he? That was a frustrating at-bat there because at the time it's 1-0. I'm not saying JP should have necessarily bunted because Cole Young strikes out the next at-bat anyway, so it may not have mattered. But JP's got to at least move that runner up. That was a poor at-bat from JP. And I think that was after getting ahead like 2-0 in the count as well. So that was a really frustrating. I didn't want to forget that one because JP's not been really dialed in. He had a good series against Texas. He's had some good at-bats and some hits fall in a little bit, but just not the same JP we've been used to. That was a really frustrating at-bat there. In the 6th, Cal leads off with a walk, and then Julio's called out on strikes. Cal walks, Julio swings at 2 pitches, not in the zone right away. The pitch that struck him out, the McClain threw, was pinged. Nothing Julio could do about that, but he could have been up 2-0 in the count instead of down 2-0 in the count. Then the next at bat after the Julio strikeout, that's when Naylor hits the fly ball that off the bat looked pretty good. Then Cal gets into third, and Gino strikes out. And again, I talk about sequencing all the time. Gino would have been nice if he hit that home run that he hit in the 9th inning there in the in the sixth inning potentially. That was a poor at bat there by Gino. Let's see, the seventh they didn't do anything. Then the Mets went up 3-0. In the eighth they didn't do anything. The ninth was really then the only other time Naylor kind of lined out, then Gino homered. So maybe not as many opportunities as I thought, but that bases loaded situation. And then JP's at bat was really poor. That was just frustrating there. Chances to tie it up, and they just couldn't get it done. Tomorrow, George Kirby has been fantastic on the mound for you. Clay Holmes has been scuffling. He's someone the Mariners should be able to hit, does keep the ball on the ground, which could be difficult. You'll be in a bit of a hitter's park there, I believe, in Williamsport. So maybe that helps. Maybe it hurts as well because the Mets lineup is pretty loaded with talent as well. So there's no guarantee that, you're going to hit the ball over the fence, but they're not either. So it should be fun. Should be fun to see them in that game. Guy, like I said, got a chance to win the series. That's all you ask. Had that chance in Baltimore, but unfortunately with Logan Evans going, you didn't feel as good about it. Maybe I should feel better about the pitcher you have on the mound. The Mets are definitely better than the Orioles, so I'm not sure how much better about the game you feel, but you should feel better about the matchup. It'd be great to go into Philly with a little momentum too, right? You can win tomorrow. You go into Philly, would you be 69-56? Maybe a little World Series preview. Feel good to kind of say that going into Philly, but you want to win tomorrow. It would feel a little bit more, lively, a little bit more exciting if you with a W. And it'd be nice too, because it would take a little pressure off the Philly series. Not saying that, whatever, if we get swept, but if you'd win tomorrow, you're 3-3 on the road trip. You can find a way to win one in Philly. You've made it an okay road trip, but if you lose tomorrow, you got to win. You got to win the series in Philly in order to have it be, a salvageable road trip a little bit. So you'd like to find a way to get tomorrow in there for sure. I didn't really go through the box score much. Bryan Woo was solid, 6 innings, 6 hits, a run, 2 walks, 8 Ks. Ferguson struggled, but it was a few bloops that kind of got in on him. Vargas gave him a hit at a strikeout. Legamino with a solid ninth. Offensively, not much. Cal, nice day, 2 for 2, 2 base hits and 2 walks as well. So Cal on base 4 times. Dom had a hit. Gino had the home run. We'd like to see Luke Raley get in there tomorrow. He's back, but for 2 games. Either give Dom a day off. I actually wouldn't mind giving Polanco a day off. He's been quietly scuffling for, I want to say, at least since the Texas series for sure. So I might give him a day off tomorrow and just go with Luke Raley DH. In fact, I think that's exactly, or I'd go Luke and Wright and Dom at DH is probably your better bet, a little bit better defense. And hopefully the Gino home run starts something for him. And hopefully they win the series. Hey, still 4 up on a playoff spot. So each day we go further and the Mariners may maintain a 4-game lead. We're getting a step closer to talking about clinching games. It's going to be here before we know. There's only 38 of these things left. So it's going to go by fast. That's all I've got for y'all. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.